Real estate disclosure. Introduction to the course. Full disclosure in the market. Real estate transactions are built on information, trust, and transparency. Buyers rely on accurate information to determine whether a property meets their needs. Sellers rely on proper representation to avoid legal disputes after closing, and real estate licensees rely on clear communication to guide both parties through the transaction process. Because of this, one of the most important responsibilities in the real estate profession is full disclosure of material facts that may affect a buyer's decision to purchase property. This course, Full Disclosure in the Market, focuses on how disclosure laws operate within Arizona real estate transactions and how licensees apply those laws in everyday practice. Throughout this course, you will learn the legal obligations of sellers and real estate professionals, the risks created when important information is not disclosed, and the professional practices that help reduce liability while protecting consumers. Arizona real estate law places a strong emphasis on honesty, transparency, and consumer protection. Disclosure duties arise from several sources, including Arizona statutes, administrative rules, and court decisions. These legal authorities work together to establish the responsibilities of sellers and licensees during a real estate transaction. For example, Arizona Revised Statutes, Paragraph 32-2156, addresses disclosure requirements related to real estate sales and leases. This statute reinforces that licensees must conduct transactions in a way that protects the public from misrepresentation, concealment, or misleading information about property conditions. In addition, the Arizona Administrative Code R4-28-1101, which governs the professional conduct of licensees, requires real estate professionals to deal fairly with all parties to a transaction and disclose material information that could affect a party's decision regarding the property. Disclosure duties have also been shaped by important Arizona court decisions. One of the most influential disclosure cases in Arizona real estate is Hill v. Jones, Arizona Court of Appeals, 1986. In this case, the court ruled that a seller must disclose material facts that are not readily observable and that could affect the value or desirability of the property. The Hill v. Jones case involved a home seller who failed to disclose termite damage to the buyer. Although the damage had been previously treated, the court determined that the buyer had the right to know about the property's history of termite infestation before completing the purchase. The court concluded that failing to disclose this type of hidden condition could constitute fraudulent or negligent misrepresentation. This case established a principle that still guides Arizona real estate practice today. When a seller knows about a hidden defect that could influence a buyer's decision, the seller has a duty to disclose that information even if the buyer does not specifically ask about it. Industry statistics also demonstrate why disclosure is such an important topic for real estate professionals. Studies consistently show that more than 1 out of every 6 real estate professionals will face a lawsuit or legal complaint during their career. Many of these disputes arise when buyers believe important information about the property was not disclosed before closing. When disclosure disputes occur, the legal exposure rarely affects only one person. A lawsuit may involve multiple professionals connected to the transaction, including the seller, the listing agent, the buyer's agent, inspectors, contractors, and sometimes even the brokerage supervising the transaction. Because of this shared risk, real estate professionals must develop strong habits related to disclosure, documentation, and communication throughout the transaction process. As we move through this course, we will explore how disclosure works in real estate transactions from beginning to end. We will begin by examining seller disclosure responsibilities, including the purpose and use of the seller's property disclosure statement, SPDS. Later sections will examine the responsibilities of licensees under Arizona law, identify common red flags in property disclosures, and explore how inspections play a critical role in protecting both buyers and real estate professionals. By the end of this course, you will have a clear understanding of how disclosure laws operate in Arizona and how proper disclosure practices can protect both your clients and your professional career. Real estate disclosure. Understanding disclosure in real estate transactions. Disclosure refers to the process of providing buyers with information known to the seller or the real estate licensee that may affect the value, condition, or desirability of a property. The purpose of disclosure is to ensure that buyers have access to the information necessary to make informed decisions before purchasing real estate. Disclosure obligations arise from several legal sources, including Arizona statutes, administrative regulations, and case law. Under AAC R428-1101, licensees must exercise reasonable care and diligence in real estate transactions and must deal fairly with all parties involved. A key concept within disclosure law is the idea of a material fact. A material fact is any fact that a reasonable buyer would consider important when deciding whether to purchase a property or determining the price they are willing to pay. Examples of material facts may include structural damage, water intrusion or roof leaks, termite activity or pest infestation, environmental hazards, boundary disputes, zoning changes or land use changes, problems with utilities or property access. Some defects are visible or observable, meaning a buyer could reasonably identify them during a normal inspection of the property. Other defects are known as latent defects, which are hidden conditions that cannot easily be discovered during a typical walkthrough of the property. Arizona courts have consistently ruled that sellers must disclose latent defects that materially affect the value of the property. Another case that reinforced this concept is Lombardo v. Albu, 2001, where the court confirmed that failing to disclose known defects could create liability for misrepresentation or fraud. Consider the following example. A homeowner repaired a roof leak several years ago after water entered the attic during heavy storms. Although the repair temporarily solved the problem, the seller later noticed the leak returned during certain monsoon storms. Even if the leak is not currently visible, the history of the roof leak must be disclosed because it could influence the buyer's decision to purchase the property. Another example might involve a homeowner who repaired a foundation crack or drainage problem after previous flooding on the property. Even if the repair appears successful, the buyer should still be informed about the history of the condition. Disclosure is not limited to problems inside the property itself. In some situations, external factors affecting the property may also require disclosure. For example, if a seller knows that nearby agricultural land is scheduled to be rezoned for commercial development, that information may influence a buyer's decision to purchase a home in the area. Real estate professionals play a critical role in helping sellers identify and disclose these types of issues. Many sellers may not immediately remember past repairs or problems with the property. One effective strategy is to walk through the property with the seller while discussing the property's history. During this walkthrough, agents may notice repaired cracks in walls, patched ceilings, or replaced flooring that may indicate previous issues. By asking thoughtful questions during this process, licensees can help ensure that the disclosure process is complete, accurate, and legally compliant. Proper disclosure protects everyone involved in the transaction. Buyers receive the information they need to make informed decisions, sellers reduce the risk of future disputes, and licensees demonstrate professional conduct that complies with Arizona law. In the next section, we will examine seller disclosure in more detail and explore how the seller's property disclosure statement, SPDS, is used to document property conditions and protect both buyers and sellers. Online discussion. Discussion question. Why is full disclosure important in protecting both buyers and sellers in a real estate transaction? Answer. Full disclosure allows buyers to make informed purchasing decisions based on accurate information about the property. It also protects sellers by reducing the likelihood of future lawsuits related to undisclosed defects. Discussion. Question. What is the difference between a visible defect and a latent defect? Answer. A visible defect can be discovered through normal observation during a showing or inspection. A latent defect is hidden and cannot easily be discovered by a buyer without specialized inspection or prior knowledge. Discussion. Question. Why should agents walk through the property with the seller during the disclosure process? Answer. Walking through the property helps the seller remember past repairs, damage, or improvements that may need to be disclosed, and allows the agent to identify potential issues that should be addressed in the disclosure forms.